A hearty good evening to everyone. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We're very, very pleased that you're here. Today is Monday, June 20th, and we will commence with the city's business by starting with finding out who is here representing all of you on your City Council. Roll call, please.
Councilors Aguilar?
Here.
Anderson?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Intimate?
Here.
Erpenbach? Here. Jameson?
Here.
Karski?
Here.
Rolfing?
Here.
Thank you, City Council. All 8 members are here tonight, along with Pastor Eric McCandless of the Empire Baptist Temple Church here in town. Pastor Eric will give us our invocation. We'd ask you to stand, and then after that, if you'd remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, we'd appreciate it. Pastor Eric?
Sure. Our Father, tonight as we embark upon yet another time of sifting through details that need to be decided on and thought through and planned for, Lord, we want to pause a moment and think about all the things going on around our area, the floodings, the different tornadoes that have ravaged different parts of our country. And Lord, we thank you for your great hand of blessing on Sioux Falls and the area around. And at the same time, we want to ask that you would help us to know how best to honor you so that you can keep on blessing us. Lord, I pray that all that we say and do here tonight would represent you, represent your will, and at the same time be very considerate of all those who aren't quite as blessed as we are in this great area. Lord, help us tonight to do thy will. In Jesus' name I ask it. Amen.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. It's good to have you here. What a great crowd. We're going to start with a proclamation. And would you mind coming up, please? Welcome. Would you want to introduce everybody before we start?
We have Alex Shamite. We have Selwa. We have Mrs. Silke. Tim Jerkins, the new director at Lutheran Social Services Resettlement Center. And my husband, John Hart. And I'm Clara Hart. I'm a community person, and I work for Sioux Falls School District with immigrant families.
The proclamation reads, whereas every year on June 20th, the world honors the courage, resilience, and strength of refugees. On the 9th anniversary of the United Nations designated World Refugee Day, thousands of organizations in hundreds of countries will come together to focus global attention not only on the plight of refugees and the causes of their exile, but also on their determination and will to survive, and on the contributions they make to their host communities. Whereas refugees flee their country not for economic gain, but to escape persecution, the threat of imprisonment, and even threats to their lives. They need a safe haven where they can recover from mental and physical trauma and rebuild their hopes for a better future. Whereas the 2011 global theme for World Refugee Day is Real People, Real Needs, in recognition of the plight of more than 40 million uprooted people around the world, where approximately 10 million of them are refugees. Whereas protection also means that refugees receive food, shelter, and medical care, that their rights are respected, including rights to education and freedom of movement. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim Monday, June 20th, 2011, as World Refugee Day in Sioux Falls, and let us recognize them for their richness and diversity they bring to our community. Clara, congratulations. Well, thank you, everybody. We will start with reviewing tonight's consent agenda. Council, any changes or motions?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. It was seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Any further conversation? Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown,
Yes.
Intamin,
I'm sorry. Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Would anybody like to approve our regular agenda or any changes to the regular agenda?
Move to approve, Brown. Second, Karski.
Councilor Brown's made that motion to approve tonight's regular agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. Any further questions, comments? Very good. A motion, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown,
Yes.
Intamin.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski.
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 8-0. Again, I'd like to welcome all of you to tonight's City Council meeting. Got a really good crowd, which is great. If there is anyone who would like to address the council, now is a great time. If you've got an item that is regarding a topic that will happen later on in the agenda, we'd ask you to hold your commentary until then. But if there's another item of discussion, please just come forward and just state your name, please. And we would ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Please come forward. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Ray Hoffman.
Mr. Hoffman,
Fellow's
welcome.
going to open Luciano's here probably next week. Okay, it took a while. I had a little problem here and there. We've got it all taken care of. May I approach the bench? I'd like to invite at least one of you.
Mr. Hoffman, just if you wouldn't mind, just give the cards to Jim there, Councilor Entenmann, and he'll distribute them, but thank you.
I think I have enough. If not,
Thank you.
Lawyer, call you all. Just in case I don't have enough.
Mr. Hoffman, welcome, please.
My wife and I are looking forward to it. I'm going right back now to stock the wines on the shelves, get everything ready, and I'm hoping that by Monday next week we're going to open. Initially, it's going to be evening meals only for about 2 weeks or so. I've learned a long time ago you should shut your phone off, before you have a meeting.
Yes.
So excuse me. But we eventually will have lunch also. Just here to say hi. I want to thank you for everything you've done. And that's it. Have a
Mr.
good
Hoffman,
night.
just real quickly, first of all, thanks for investing in our community. Why did you choose Sioux Falls? And if that's your wife, you pick it up.
It's my granddaughter. She's running the shop in Sioux City,
Okay.
so must be important. No.
Why Sioux Falls?
We looked quite a few places. I had a couple of choices. I was thinking Omaha, Sioux Falls. It was time to, I'm a retired stockbroker, there was time for me to slow down. And I thought the best way to do it is have another restaurant. Now, that makes a lot of sense. No, it doesn't. But with management and stuff, I believe I can do that. When I checked everything out, I came to Sioux Falls. I looked more in the newer areas, the new buildings and things like that. I came across the brewery downtown here, and I knew. I walked into this place, there's just no way in the world anybody can talk me out of this facility down there. And I saw the potential, saw the closeness of the park. I saw all the surrounding areas, the businesses. A lot of people told me, I said, listen, many businesses failed down here. Why are you coming? And I reminded them, in Sioux City, there was a district called Lower 4th Street. Today it's called Historic 4th Street. It is now the best place in Sioux City. And you already have the best place. I'm just going to make it better. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Welcome. Welcome to Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
Next.
And I have to go, so I got to work.
You bet. Have a good day. Thank you. Say hi to your granddaughter, please. Sir, come forward, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ryan Hutchinson. I'm here representing myself and Best Buy, the retail corporation. I'm a resident of Sioux Falls. I've lived in the city since attending Augustana College, which was about 6 years ago. So I've invested quite a bit in the community already, and have to say I thoroughly enjoy being here. Currently, I work at the local Best Buy store as the sort of Midwest area local business solutions advisor. So had a chance to interact with quite a few people in the community, and I can tell you that business is alive and thriving. It's an excellent time to be a small or medium business owner. It's also an excellent time to be involved in the community from all aspects, whether it be myself or Best Buy. I'm always on the lookout for a large opportunity, a big opportunity. And upon hearing that Sioux Falls was interested in a possible event center, that sparked something in my mind. I thought, why not see if there is a way that the Best Buy family could be involved in some way in this endeavor, because I think it's such a huge part of what we're trying to accomplish as far as growing our city. I think as a young person, someone who wants to see continuing entertainment opportunities, who wants to see continuing events, who wants to see things that are going to make this community come alive and continue to be vibrant, why not make this marriage happen? So, that being said, I'm here to basically put forth that Best Buy, as a retail corporation, is interested in partnering with the City of Sioux Falls on any and all applicable, you name it, we can help you out with it, whether it be electronic purchasing, whether it be installation. We have discussed naming rights to some extent. I know that that is a very important piece to the event center becoming a vision into reality. We have discussed working with contractors, and I am doing everything I can to get our corporate entity interested in this possible event center. So, that being said, I have some contact information with me. If you'd like to get a hold of me so we can start this process moving forward, I think it's an opportunity for a very powerful partnership. Best Buy, we've been involved recently in some very large venues. We've done the tech refit of Fenway Park, home of the Boston Red Sox. We've just redone all the concourse level display systems at PNC Park, which is Pittsburgh Stadium. We helped Duluth finish their convention center and arena. And obviously the Minnesota Twins, right? You guys, I'm sure, are all familiar with them. We also did almost all the electronic purchasing and much of the installation for that venue. So we have a lot of knowledge and expertise in these areas, particularly in the recent past. And Best Buy would be honored if you would consider us when it comes time for the bidding.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? Welcome, Ms. Stinga.
How we do tonight? Tim Stanga. Why, after last Monday, this is a lot nicer. I hate to say it. A lot of talking points out there this week and last week. People just want to everybody wants to let the city council know and the mayor's office to know that we had 4 people for the arena site, 4 people for the downtown site. There wasn't anybody that represented the people that didn't want the event center or that were undecided. They were disappointed about that, and they want that voiced. We have 156,000 people in this town, and it's almost like we have 2 cities in this town. Whether it's outside of downtown or downtown, we have one community, and I think that the city council and the mayor's office have to get together and to realize that there's one community. We have a small town, but we have big town spending and big town things that we're looking at. And we have to make a decision. There are going to be people against this, but there are going to be people for it. And I think the city council has to make a step forward to be able to come together and to realize that we have to do it for the community, not for special interests, but we have to get together and do it together. And by Best Buy stepping up, they're not downtown, but they're willing to support a site. And I applaud that. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Stinga. Anybody else? Well, very good, very good. Then we'll proceed with item number 11.
New 2011-2012 retail malt beverage license for the Little Cellar Wine Company, LLC, the Little Cellar Wine Company, to be operated at 2316, 2318 South Louise Avenue, effective 7/1/11, with the special use permit 2008-09-19 being approved on 10/1/08. Item 12, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 2174, to be operated at 1705 West Burnside Street, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as a packaged malt beverage. Item 13, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 2334, to be operated at 701 South Sycamore Avenue, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as packaged malt beverage. Item 14, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 2343, to be operated at 1809 East Rice Street, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as packaged malt beverage. Item 15, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 2351, to be operated at 901 East Benson Road, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as packaged malt beverage. Item 16, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Casey's Retail Company, Casey's General Store, number 2464, to be operated at 500 North Kiwanis Avenue, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as packaged malt beverage. Item 17, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Cubby's Inc., Cubby's West 49th, to be operated at 2101 West 49th Street, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as packaged malt beverage. Item 18, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for Cubby's Inc., Cubby's West 12th Truck Stop, number 403, to be operated at 4700 West 12th Street, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as packaged malt beverage. Item 19, new 2011-12 packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license for John Falls Amico, to be operated at 3308 West Russell Street, effective July 1st, 2011, previously licensed as packaged malt beverage. Item 20, special one-day liquor license request for Great Bear Recreation Park Incorporated, Great Bear Recreation Park, to be operated at 5901 East Rice Street for wedding receptions on June 25th, July 16th, August 13th and 27th, September 10th and 24th, and October 1st, 2011. Item 21, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Home Builders Association of the Sioux Empire, to be operated at Home Federal Bank, including parking area 225 South Main Avenue for the Association Appreciation Night on July 13th, 2011. Item 22, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Home Builders Association of the Sioux Empire, to be operated at Home Builders Association of the Sioux Empire, 6904 South Lindcrest Place, for the general membership meeting on November 17th, 2011. Item 23, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Feisty Fighters, to be operated at Landscape Garden Center, 7201 South Minnesota Avenue, for a wine tasting event on November 22nd, 2011. Item 24, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the Sioux Falls Sister Cities Association, to be operated on Phillips Avenue from 5th Street to north to 2nd Street, for the German Fest to be held on September 10th, 2011. Item 25, special one-day malt beverage and wine license request for the Sioux Falls Irish Club, to be operated on Phillips Avenue from 5th Street north to 2nd Street, for the Irish Fest to be held on July 23rd, 2011. Item 26, various retail malt beverage, packaged malt beverage, and packaged malt beverage South Dakota Farm Winery license renewals for 2011-12, to be operated at various locations in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, identified as Exhibit C.
Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Lori Hogstead with the City Attorney's Office, representing items 11 through 26. We basically have one new item, which is item 11 for a new beer license. And then items 12 through 19, although they're categorized as new licenses, they are technically renewals and just adding another class of license. These licenses all previously had packaged malt beverage, and now they're adding the option of the South Dakota Farm Winery license, and that is why they are listed separately as new licenses. And then we have items 20 through 25 are all special one-day requests, and then I'll cover item 26 separately as the last set of renewals and cover some of the underage sales. But I would like to go back to items 15 and 17. 15 is for Casey's retail store at 901 East Benson Road, and this business did have an underage sale in the past 12 months. They also had one in 2007. I track them for many years, but I generally give you a report for the past 5 years. And we do have representatives here from Casey's if you would like to speak to them. I thought I'd give you that opportunity right now.
Council? Lori,
I think
go
we
ahead.
do.
Yes.
Mr.
Oh,
Mayor, I
yes.
think we
Okay.
do. I'm seeing some nodding. Yes, please.
All right, we have Linda Thorson, the district manager, and Allison Victorine, the area supervisor. If they are here. Okay, come on up.
Lori, I can imagine the council will probably want to talk with each one of the owners or business managers on their particular business. So we might as well just be ready. So welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Please just come forward, and
All right.
if you just introduce yourself to the council, please.
My name is Linda Thorson. I'm the district manager for Casey's General Stores throughout South Dakota. And so I'm here on behalf of this store here that did sale to an underage person this past year.
Linda, thank you. And who are you with?
I'm Allison Buckdevine. I'm the district supervisor with Casey's, and I have most of South Dakota and one store in Minnesota.
Thank you. Thank you.
Allison is important because she is our trainer that trains all of these people on the underage sales and does it periodically as we get new people in the stores. Unfortunately, even though they are trained, everybody is human, and once in a while they make a mistake. Sorry to say. Any other questions?
Councilor Brown.
Could you just give a sense, because Casey's has been before us a number of times, can
Yes.
you give us a sense of what you're doing to try to improve your record in terms of underage sales?
Well, I think we've actually been doing better because I missed the last couple of years being here, so I'm excited over that. No, we try very hard. You know, there is a lot of turnover in our business, but we try to, anybody that's going to be a cashier, they do have to be trained on underage sales, and it's quite a comprehensive, the state of South Dakota switched to what they call their CAS program, and so Allison, it takes 2-3 hours actually to do this with each of these people, and they are trained, and then that is sent into a company where it's graded and everything, and they get a card back. And so we make sure that everybody that is on the register is trained here in Sioux Falls. And like I say, it's out of 6 stores if there's only one. And I don't like to have even one in a year, but it does happen. So,
Councilor Intiman.
does
Can you
that
explain
answer
to
your
us,
questions?
excuse me, I'm sorry. Could you explain to us just a little bit on how your training procedure does work, or how you do it, or how you handle it?
I sure can. Can I turn that over to Allison because she's our trainer?
Sure.
You know, we actually have 2 different kind of trainings. Initially, when we start the paperwork on a new employee, we go through a little bit of a training where we review the age of both tobacco and alcohol. And so we go through a process there. And then before the employees are even allowed to touch the cash register, we go through this CAS training. And it like Linda said, it's a 3-hour program. They watch a video that's more of a customer service oriented. We don't tend to focus on that. We tend to focus on the other part of it, which is the legalities of it, what happens if they are stung, what happens to the business if they're stung, what happens to them if they're stung. I do thoroughly review things that would cause an employee to not card or would make somebody perceived to be older. And those are things like balding and graying hair, and we go through all the process. And being 15 years with Casey's, I have had 19-year-old bald people and 19-year-old gray-haired people, and so I focus on those things, you know, and I try to paint a very thick line so it's not thin. I don't want them to cross that line, and so I tell them, If they don't appear to be somebody's grandma or grandpa, you need to card them. That's my rule. I make them stick to that, but we can't babysit them. So when it comes down to it, there's 10 people in line, the gas pumps are going off, the phone's ringing. It's ultimately their decision. And unfortunately, this gentleman did card. We had the tools for him to scan the ID, which would have blatantly told him that that person was not old enough, or he could have manually entered in the birth date, and he chose not to. He entered in an override date. And like I said, we can't babysit them, so we do the best we can and hope they make the right decisions.
And we do terminate anyone who does fail.
It's automatic termination.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much,
welcome.
Linda and Allison. Thank you. Lori, should we start with number 17? as
Sure.
well?
Could I have the Cubbies representative come up? I haven't met most of these, so I
Very
don't
good.
know. I can't pick them out of the audience. Cubbies has had one underage sale in the past 5 years in 2010. And I also want to mention Lieutenant Kaiser is here tonight from the police department who works with the stings if you have questions specifically on the sting.
And sir, welcome. If you could just state your name, please.
I'm Joe Van Balagoyan.
Joel, welcome. And you might as well let the council know, what is it that your company's doing to try to ensure that this doesn't happen again?
First of all, I'm the supervisor for the South Dakota stores, and what we do, excuse me, I got a little cold going. Prior to this sting happening at this location, we usually sent our clerks to a TAM training class, which is conducted about every 2 months roughly in the area. Since that has happened, I had one of my managers become certified to be a TAM trainer. That's techniques in alcohol management. And now whenever we hire anybody new, they automatically get trained by my manager. It's more convenient and cheaper for us. So we have everybody do this. The other thing is, if somebody fails a sting, which this is the only one in 5 years, they are suspended for 3 days. We do not terminate them on the first one, we do on the second one, because people can make mistakes. Other than that, we constantly make phone calls to each other. On Friday nights as a company, which we have stores in Iowa, Nebraska, and Omaha, we assign different managers and supervisors to call all of our stores every Friday evening to remind them to card anyone that looks under the age of, we say 37, roughly. How you tell that, you can't. But that's one of our other options. But we also have like Casey's has, we have the tools to scan or type in a birth date. And this is our first offense. The gal she no longer works for us. We did not terminate her on that. We did suspend her, but she has left us since then.
Joel, thank you. Council, any questions of Joel? Lori, thank you.
All right, and then if we go on to item 26, which is the last set of the renewals for the retail malt beverage, packaged malt beverage, and packaged farm winery. We do have some on this list as well. The first one we have is for Bauer Enterprises, and if that representative could please come up. That's for the Pump and Pack and or Puffin Stuff at 5108 North Cliff Avenue, and they had one underage sale in 2010. Anyone here for that? No. Okay. John Weir, I believe John is here. John? Yes, come up, John, if you could. The next one then is for C-Store Services, Inc. for Pump and Pack, 3700 North Potsdam Avenue. And this business has had an underage sale in 2007 and in 2010. And John can address questions on this one.
Mr. Weir, welcome. Would you mind just relaying to the council what it is that you are doing to try to help alleviate this in the future?
Well, in 2007, we changed our policy and we put in the electronic scanning, and we've had difficulty with the software. However, we've done that, and we make sure that everybody goes to TAM training. We renew the TAM training as we're supposed to. We have every 3 months we have a store meeting, and one of the things that's on every agenda is we talk about cigarette and alcohol sales to minors. And on a consistent basis, when I leave the store in the afternoon or evening, I'll remind everybody they need to be very, very careful on alcohol sales. This particular sale, this gal's been working in this location for like 9.5 years. She's passed 4 stings for alcohol, 2 for cigarettes. She had a long day, she was tired, and she failed to card the customer. So I think we're doing the best we can do.
Councilor Urbanbach?
And then would you tell us what is your recourse with an employee who allows an underage sale like that?
I've had 3 in the past. They all were fired. This gal's been with me a long time, done a lot more right than she's done wrong. She was punished by the law, and she was told that nothing like this will ever be accepted again. But I don't think it would have been fair to let her go in this situation.
Do you own this as a franchisee? You have one store yourself? Okay, thank you.
Councilor Karski?
I've heard a lot tonight about businesses that have programs set up and this type of thing for deterring. Do you have any incentive programs, you or even anybody else?
I pay a $500 bonus to everybody who passes an alcohol sting.
Okay, that's great. Great.
Mr. Ware, thank you. Lori, in the past, when we've had someone who's been caught with a sting, we normally have the owner or the business manager come forward to speak to the council. What have we done in the past when they've not shown up?
Well, what we've done in other times is just deferred action until the next meeting, so we can certainly do that with those that aren't here, and that will be a good reminder to them that this is important and they do need to attend. So that would be one way to handle it. Next, we have Tom Benson with Erickson Value Center. Hopefully, Tom is here.
Miss?
Oh, she's here for Erickson. Okay.
Welcome.
All right, that's fine. Have her come up then. Freedom Value Centers, Inc., Erickson Value Center, number 16, 2601 West 12th Street.
Welcome. Miss, if you just state your name to the council, please.
My name is Andrea Kirkmeyer.
Hi, Andrea. Welcome. Andrea, would you mind just relaying to the council what your store is doing to try to prevent this from happening again?
From the very first interview until our last interview, we stress carding anybody that looks under the age of 30.
She's in high school.
That's all right. Andrea, take your time.
I'm the manager of the other store.
Okay.
As Andrea started to say, with our very first interview, we spend probably 3/4 of it just talking about the importance of carding for all age-restricted sales. The second interview, the same. Third interview, the third hiring interview in most cases is the same. And at that time, in their new hire paperwork, there's a zero tolerance contract that they sign that tells them up to and including termination if they fail a sting. I tell them, if you get a citation for failing a sting, consider it your pink slip. And it is company policy. It's automatic termination. I was glad that you asked about the incentive, because I hadn't remembered that, but we've been doing that for about a year now, since I was last before you over a failed sting. It's a $100 gift card for anyone who fails a sting, or for anyone who passes a sting. And in Andrea's case, the young man was very newly hired. He had gone through our company-mandated WeCard training, which is it's a computer-based training that trains them, and then they take a test, and if they do not pass the test on that first night, they do not get on the register the first night they work. We do send them at company expense to the very first TAM seminar that happens after the hiring date. As I said, he was on his second night or something like that. And I understand that the young man, we have the policies in place, and he did follow the policies. He had just the night before done the WeCard training. I understand that he looked at it, he read it, he keyed in 8 instead of 9. And they do look a lot alike, because I've looked at them since then. He just hadn't had the experience. He was probably understandably nervous on his second night on the job. He didn't have the experience hadn't had enough training yet to know that, okay, if you have to turn it this way, it's an underage ID. And if there's red on it, it's an underage ID. So it was just a very unfortunate circumstance. He was terminated on the spot. And as everyone else has said, nobody wants to be here. None of us want to be here. But you do your best. And we all use a communication log to communicate with our associates who maybe come in to do the 5 to 9 shift, for instance. I know, and I'm sure Andrea as well, uses one large page of that log every day before we leave the store at the end of our shift. I use different colored bright pencils, and mix it up so that it draws their eye and they have to look at it. They're not seeing the same thing, just seeing, oh, Jerry left another note. I mix up the message to them. Remember, if they look under the age of 21 and you don't, under the age of 30 and you don't already know they're over 21, you have to card. Once you have looked at the ID and you see that they are of age, you still cannot do an override. In our case, it would be keying in their own birth date or just 1/1/21 or something like that. It is company policy, and if they were caught doing otherwise, they would be terminated as well. That if they have asked for that ID, they are required to key in the date on the ID, and then the register stops the sale.
Thank you.
We're working hard at it.
Thank you. Well, thank you both very much for coming up. Appreciate it. You did a good job.
All right, and the next one is for Gary Cohn, G&W Inc. for Gary Cohn's Amico Hilltop, 1027 South Cleveland. It's not marked on the sheet yet because Gary had just renewed that day and the sting was that night. So it's very recent, but I thought we'd get him in this batch, and that was just in 2011. And I know Gary's here, so. Come on up.
Gary, welcome. Mr. Cohen, would you just provide the same idea to the council in terms of what your team is doing to try to prevent this?
Okay, our team, we do the same thing that about everyone else has done. I've been in business for 40 years, and we've had a lot of people go through, and this gal has worked for us for 9.5 months. And she was trained by the team operation, and we in-house train. We have all the tools for them to utilize, and if they don't use it, I guess I don't know what more we can do. We have signs hanging by the register that says, please have ID ready for tobacco or alcohol. It hangs right by the register. So we try to enforce that, and unfortunately, when someone does make a mistake, we dismiss them right away. And the girl has plenty of punishment. She was arrested and lost her driver's license for 30 days and no longer has a job. I feel personally that people go to this school, that certificate ought to go with the individual, not with the business. It should go with the individual because then they're trained when you come in for an application at any other convenience store or wherever, you can say, I've already been to this school and here's my application. And I think that's something that should be passed on to the individual, not kept with the owner. And I guess I don't have anything else to say, but we just try to do the very best we can, and you can't be with them 24/7. And unfortunately, these things do happen, and it's a very big detriment for us as the owners and managers, as well as it is for the employee. And so I don't know what else we can do.
Mr. Cohen, thank you very much for coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right, next up is Brian Sheffield. Brian's with I-90 Fuel Services, Inc., Kiwanis Gas Stop, 515 North Kiwanis. And their underage sales in the past 5 years were in 2008 and then one in 2011.
Mr. Sheffield, welcome.
Good evening. I'm Brian Sheffield with I-90 Fuel Services. We do business as the gas stop locations here in Sioux Falls. If it's acceptable, I'll move right into discussions of our program. I share with all of you the recognition of the importance of preventing underage alcohol sales. Our company truly understands its responsibility in making sure all alcohol sales are legal sales. We've taken this very seriously for many years, As a matter of fact, since 2004, we've trained over 200 employees through our programs throughout South Dakota and have certified them either by the TAM program, Techniques of Alcohol Management, the CAST program, the Certified Alcohol Sales Training, and are now moving into the PSCC, or Professional Server Certification Corporation, or R-Serving program. Since 2004, our plan has been a direct reflection of the South Dakota Retailer Association recommendations for alcohol sales training in South Dakota. We've utilized some of the best programs that are out there and available, and we've had training by certified trainers. In South Dakota, each of our managers had been certified as trainers through the CAST program. Some highlights of the plan: we review our program quarterly, and every one of our employees is certified prior to working the cash register in every location. All completed paperwork is signed and placed on file at our office by our payroll administrator. Our performance reviews for every employee includes an assessment of compliance to company policies regarding both cigarette and alcohol sales. Our company continues to make it top of mind for all employees. Any employee newsletters that we issue typically dedicate at least 25% to the importance of this issue. All of our locations have the We Card materials posted. The company issues bonuses to any of our employees that pass stings. And any employee who makes an illegal sale is subject to immediate disciplinary action. For our business, the first offense is a written reprimand. The second offense is termination. It's important to recognize that our program is really in place as part of normal operations. It's not developed just simply to look good on paper or for discussion here tonight. We truly do these things. We are really committed to deterring every attempt by those underage to purchase alcohol. Our company realizes the role of retailers in making sure that illegal sales are prevented. We invest and provide thorough training and support for our cashiers and management staffs in making sure that all alcohol sales are legal. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Mr. Sheffield, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next we need the representative from Love's Travel Stop, number 445, and this is for the Love's Travel Stops and Country Stores, Inc., 5301 North Cliff, and they had an underage sale in 2010.
Good evening, Larry Saffold. I'm the new GM there at Love's Truck Stop, and I just want to read our policy and what our plan is. It's Love's Travel Stop and Country Stores policy to follow all federal and state laws with respect to the sale of alcohol products to minors. Love's did not allow the sale of alcohol products to any customer under the legal age of 21. A violation of laws or policies on the selling of alcohol beverages will result in immediate termination of the employee. To prevent any future violations, all employees will attend monthly team meetings where the policy will be discussed. This continuous monthly training is in addition to the training employees receive when they are hired with Love's. When new employees are hired by Love's, they participate in a required training course which discusses the policy fully. In addition to training courses, Love's registers require the employee to input the customer's date of birth before the sale of an alcoholic beverage is approved in the system. And then they go through a computer-based training which has like online videos, and then they have to pass a test. And then once they go through that, we also do shadow training where they're assigned to a mentor and coaching. And then what we do is we assess to see if they can identify anybody under the 27. That's our rule. If they look under 27 age for lotto, alcohol, and tobacco. And then once we assess that they can identify a certain age look, and then if they review the ID, and then they are required to punch in the numbers, and if they bypass that, and we notice that they're bypassing that through video or it gives me a report, then we of course, write them up, or we can consider termination if it's a repeat offense. And then this individual, this happened before I got here, but they were automatically immediately terminated, and that's our policy.
Larry, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, the Walgreens representative for store 05242 at 4900 South Cliff Avenue. This is for Walgreens Company, and they had one underage sale in 2011. Nobody here from Walgreens? Okay. And then we have Wang Enterprises, Inc. for Kingsmart, 4200 West 41st Street, one underage sale in 2010. And Jay Sim is here to represent Kingsmart.
Mr. Sim, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Jay Sim. I manage Kingsmart for my sister. Our policy is the same as Pump and Pack, KC's. We've got very similar training, all process. Make a quick story for me. I hired a girl from Sioux City, and the day that she got stinged, her uncle was sick, she was running back and forth, and I got off of work and I looked at her and she goes, "Well, you look really tired," because I just got back from Sioux City. So anyhow, that night she got caught, and I said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, Sioux City, of course we train about the red tag, the green, blue. Sioux City, even though you're 21, their license is red, I guess. So kind of see your ID. She checked the ID, looked at red, so just assumed that she was in Sioux City. She just sold it. And it was underage, red with a red tag on there. So our policy is the same way with Pump and Pack. We do in the same buying groups. They got caught, we terminate them. If they do something good, we reward them with $250 gift cards and all that. But I was telling John, it seems like we go through all this training. It doesn't really matter. The day of their moment, if they're tired or not paying attention, then we can go through 25,000-hour training. They come to work with the wrong mindset, they're going to get busted. So, anyway, I don't go through all the policies, but we all got the same, 90% about the right. We all got the same policies.
Jay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. It looks like we are just missing the Walgreens Company and then the Pump and Pack for Bauer Enterprises.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Urbanbach.
I would like to make a motion to defer to next week or whenever the Bauer Incorporated Pump and Pack on North Cliff and the Walgreens store 05242 on South Cliff to July 5th. I'm deferring these. That's my motion.
Second, Karski.
It's been a motion by Councilor Urbanbach to defer the two firms that she identified to July 5th, and that was seconded by Councilor Karski. Yes, Councilor, I'm sorry, Jameson. Sorry, Greg.
It's all right. Lori, could you explain again to us the authority that we have if through this reapplication process, what abilities do we have to actually deny a renewal? What does it take?
Well, and I'm really glad Gail's here tonight because maybe she can help me out with that as well. But the state can hold these licenses or cease them from selling for a couple weeks at a time, but they have to have more than 2 underage sales in 24 months. In other words, I believe Gail and I figured out they could have 1 per year and still not be suspended at all by the state. As far as the authority that we have for not renewing, and Gail, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we would look at character of applicant and suitability of location. And in all the time that I've done this, which has been a long time now, there's only been one situation, and that was last year with a store that had underage sales over and over and over. And we did not renew that one. They were in the process of selling, and so the new buyer that came in simply purchased a new license and started with a clean slate.
You have the power as the council to recommend a revocation or suspension of a license
Okay.
to the state, but I don't think they're going to do anything in that regard because, like Lori said, the legislature enacted this safe harbor law a few years ago that said nothing is going to happen to a license if there are 2 in 24 months underage sales, unless there's more than that. And I don't think that's the case with any of these
No, it
people.
is
Is that
not.
right, Lori?
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Rippenbach.
I realize that because we went through that whole rigmarole a year ago, where it's disappointing to us as city leaders that we really don't have any teeth to this ordinance. But I want to commend every one of those people that came up here and stood. Even the woman that was so nervous she couldn't speak. She came here and defended her business, and 99% of these people said that person that made that underage sale got fired immediately. And I want people to understand that's the message, that in Sioux Falls we don't tolerate this, and that that we need to have those folks come here, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that that we need to do whatever, take away their license, because we know that we can't, but I want it to be clear that this is a big deal to Sioux Falls. It's my understanding that I've been out of order in terms of my motion. Thank you, Clerk Deborah Owen. So I would remake my motion when we're ready for that point.
Councilor Rippenbach, I apologize.
I need to
Go right ahead.
take away take back the motion. I can't. My vocabulary's gone. I apologize. I'm taking back that motion, and I'm making a substitute motion for that. I am making a motion to approve all of those items that we've discussed through 26.
Councilor Karski, are you okay?
Items 11 through 26.
I'm okay with that, and I'll second that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
then if I might.
So there has been a motion to approve the items as listed by Denise, items number 11 through 26. That motion was made by Councilor Rippenbach, seconded by Councilor Karski.
Right, and then I'm going to make an amendment to the main motion, and that would be inside number 26. My motion is to defer Bauer Enterprises as pump and pack on North Cliff Avenue, and to defer the Walgreens store 05242 at 4900 South Cliff, defer both of those to July 5th.
Is there a second?
Second, Karski.
Councilor Karski's also
you for your
seconded that amendment to the motion. Is there any further discussion by anyone in the audience? Actually, no. Council, is there any further discussion by anyone on the council? Councilor Brown.
Lori, if you could just please make clear what the impact is for the public's sake so they know what happens if we should, in fact, delay those 2 stores.
Well, in the past, what we have said is that they would have to cease selling beginning July 1st through the hearing date. I'm going to have to verify that with the state, because they've now made the decision that if a person has their application in on time, which they did, that they can continue to operate. I will verify that with the state, though, in the morning.
Another example, councilors, of great local control in our state. Again, our legislature does not allow us to run our cities as we see fit locally, and that's ashamed. And we understand that you don't control that, Lori.
I know. I wish I could.
Councilor Karski.
Yes, I too wanted to, like Councilor Rippenbach, thank all the businesses that did show up, all the business people. It does show a community responsibility to let us know what you're doing. And I truly hope that these other 3 businesses do send representatives to give accountability back to our community for the products they sell. You think about, well, there's only 1 person caught, but how many people got away with it before we sent a police officer in there that finally opened that can of worms up? So we do need to see those people here, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Councilor Brown.
Lori, when you do find out, would you please let us know what the result is on that in terms of...
I will let you know in the morning.
Thank you.
Talk to the state.
There is an amendment to the main motion that has been submitted. Hearing no further discussion, could we have a roll call vote on the amendment, please?
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes. The amendment is passed 8-0. Council, any further amendments or topics to discuss on this? We now have an amended main motion. If I could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes. That is passed 8-0. Item 27.
Deferred from the meetings of December 6, 2010, January 3, 2011, February 14, 2011, and April 18, 2011. Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 412 East 12th Street from the C-3 Central Business District to Sub-Area E of the Beetle Greenway Plan Development District, petition number 2010-09-02, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls.
Good evening. Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. This is a petition that was submitted a number of months ago pertaining to the River Terrace Apartments located in the downtown area of East 12th and South 3rd Avenue. The applicant is Chuck Point, representing River Terrace Apartments, LLC. The original petition was to incorporate the zoning of this existing apartment building into the Beetle Greenway Plan Development District. Based on advice and recommendation from the City Attorney's Office, we had asked the council to defer this on a number of occasions, and now the Attorney's Office is asking or suggesting that another deferral is no longer necessary based on recent discussions with representatives of the property. And so tonight staff is recommending that the City Council go ahead and approve this rezoning request.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Very good. Council, would anybody like to make a motion?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Council, any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown,
Yes.
Entman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 28.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Section 27-41 of Article 3 of Chapter 27, Parks and Recreation of the revised ordinances of the city by revising recreation and facility fees.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Don Kearney with Parks and Recreation. A couple weeks ago at your informational briefing, we gave you a detailed presentation on our proposed fee ordinance changes, and then at our first reading, we also provided you with a summary of that. I don't intend tonight to go through those entire presentations again, spare you that pain maybe, but I do have some additional information that I would like to share, but know that I do have those PowerPoints available if you wanted to see any of those slides. Last week we did find out from the Red Cross that they will be imposing a new $5 per swimming lesson registration fee on all lessons that we offer through the Red Cross. And unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, we have a lot of lessons that we offer, and it turns out that it's going to cost us about another $12,000 to provide that service. So I wanted to make you aware of that. And the reason why I bring that up, we're also proposing a $5 increase on the swimming lesson fees, and so that'll basically offset that new cost as currently proposed. And I also wanted to share with you that the status of our free pass sales so far this year through June 12th. Basically, for every 2 that we issue to families free of charge, we sell about 1 of those. It's not quite 2 to 1, but it's very near that. So that program continues to be very popular. And then the other thing I'd share with you is just some comments regarding the free programs in other communities. We did some additional checking, and while there are variations of the programs that we provide here for our free or reduced programs, they're really not apples to apples comparisons. Many of those programs are like the ones that we used to have, where they'd work through social services or they'd get corporate sponsorships to help with those free passes, and by no means are they providing free passes or reduced passes on the scale that we do here in Sioux Falls. And so I just wanted to share that with you as well. And we'd be glad to take any questions you might have.
Mr. Kennedy, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item before the council has an opportunity? Very good. Oh, Miss, please come forward. Welcome. Welcome. You're welcome.
Carol Flower, Sioux Falls. As many of you already know, I grew up in Sioux Falls, and the parks in Sioux Falls have been like the jewel of Sioux Falls. They are wonderful, and when you go other places and you compare our parks with other cities, they just don't compare. But one of the things, when this issue came up of the raised swimming fees, one of the things that in my mind came to my picture in my mind was of putting this on a scale, and I put over on this side of the scale projects that I see that have been done in the parks that are already beautiful, that are already wonderful, that already provide what parks are really meant to provide. And I see all these improvements, for instance, like statues and rock pillars and gazebo-type structures and artwork and so forth. And on the other side of the scale, I'm putting the fact that here we have children who may not be able to afford to go swimming. And that there's a disparity here that I'm recognizing. What is the purpose of our parks? To provide a place for people to go and enjoy the outside and the outdoors, the trees and the grass, and being able to play ball and swim and whatever, or to make things look fancy. To me, this is a no-brainer. We need to be thinking of children and the people that go to the parks rather than necessarily the structures and the artwork and so forth that make the parks look great, but are they really needed? Thank you.
Carol, thank you. Is there anyone else? Very good. Councilor Jameson.
Thank you. Don, if I could you just review the process that you go through when somebody applies for a free swim pass? How do you verify the information as being correct?
We use, right now, food stamps or EBT cards is what provides or allows you to be eligible for a free pass. And so we issue a free family pass if they show proof of the EBT card and an identification driver's license that would match the EBT card. So that would give you a free free family pass. And then we also provide a half-price pass for those that can provide a school lunch letter or a Medicaid card. So those are the two levels of discounts that we do provide.
Okay. Councilor Karski.
I was just looking at the proposal on the price increases at the pools, and I noticed where we're looking at the daily admission for child to go from $2 to $3. We're leaving the annual fee where it was for a child at $15. That's not changing. Do we see a lot of day passes for the child rate? Do you have an idea of what those numbers are?
Yeah, so far, through June 12th of this year, we have sold 1,781 of those passes.
Of the day passes?
No.
The annual pass?
The summer pass, yeah.
Okay. How many day passes? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I might be able to provide that for you. Maybe a stretch, but... I don't have that right off the top of my head or in my file here, but maybe Alicia or Dave has it behind me. We have what we've calculated is the increment on the additional increase that would be provided as a result of. I can tell you how many people come in on daily admission is. Let me see here. Well, we'll produce similar to the question that was asked at the first reading, is that we do generate $10,625 on the dollar admission, so 10,000 of those. And then, I guess if we do the math on the aquatic centers, there would be about 15,000
annually.
Yeah.
Versus the annual pass. There's contrast the two for me. How many daily versus annually? Do we see? Is it a big part of what we do, or is it more? Is 90% of the people that coming in to the pools coming in on the annual passes?
I might have to defer to Alicia on that.
No, that's. And I'm curious because I applaud the work that you did here, and I know you put a lot of, and your group put a lot of work into here, and I like the fact that we're leaving the season pass for the child where it was. I think that's great. I'm still trying to get my arms around the daily admission for the child rate. I'm just kind of curious, how many kids does that truly impact for us? So, thank you.
You bet.
Alicia, would you mind trying to answer that for Councilor Karski?
Hi, Alicia Luther, Recreation Manager. I can say that typically we do have more people using passes to get into our pools and paying daily admission. Typically those that are paying the daily admission are going to be the people that are non-residents that are coming to Sioux Falls to use our facilities, because we have seen an increase in our free passes, and I think a lot of people that maybe typically could not afford to get a pass are getting the free passes now and able to enjoy our facilities. And we've really been trying to get the word out to encourage people to get the free passes to be able to enjoy our facilities. Hope that answers what you guys were looking for. Okay.
Councilor Urbanbach.
A couple questions for you, Dawn. First of all, now I'm concerned with the $5 increase for Red Cross eating up the request that you made for swim lessons increases. One of the things we've been talking about, and we're going to talk about it more tonight about fees, is that we're trying to bring our revenue more in line with our expenses. Do we need to increase swimming lesson fees even more to cover your costs better?
You know, that one, I think we're generally sensitive to, because swimming lessons are a very important part of people's life skills, to be able to get that at an early age. I was just going to check what other communities charge, and I would say that the proposed fee is generally in line with what other cities charge at the proposed fee of $20 for the basic level 1 through 6 classes. And so despite the additional cost, I would say I would still be comfortable with that fee at this point, realizing that hopefully we can be in a system of regular increases versus waiting 20 or 30 years before we actually raise these fees. And that's really where we've gotten to, is that we just haven't raised fees for so long, and our costs have continued to go up, that we really haven't kept pace with what it takes to provide those services.
If I might, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, please, Councilor Urbanbach.
I would think then too, Don, that next year when those communities that we compare ourselves to, when they take that $5 hit from the Red Cross, their rates are going to go up as well.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
That's a great point, because it's a national initiative that every city across the country will be paying this $5 fee. So we probably will see that similar increase.
Then a couple of other questions, Don. Can you tell us, previous to 4 or 5 years ago when we started the free and reduced pass system that you just explained, you said that we did things similar to other communities where it was maybe non-governmental agencies or churches or whoever kind of funded some passes. About how many passes did we give away or sell at a reduced rate under that system?
It wasn't very many. It was less than 10.
Less than 10.
Yes.
And now we give away how many passes in a year?
The free family passes in 2010 was 2,943.
And who pays for those passes?
The taxpayers would.
That's right. They come out of city funds.
That way.
Then my final question for you then, Don, is there's a period of time during a swim day from about, and forgive me, my kids are old enough now, it's between, I believe, 5 o'clock and 6:30 p.m. in all of the city pools, where a child can't go swimming alone, right? They have to have an adult with them. Can you talk about family swim time just briefly for me so that I understand that it's a requirement in terms of just it's a family swim time in there to be there with an adult? Can you talk about that?
It's probably a better question for Alicia again.
Okay,
So
thank
I'll let
you.
her take it.
Our family swim time frame is from 5 to 6:30, and during that time frame, if you are under the age of 18, you do need to come with an adult 18 or older, and we do encourage that it's families versus couples, teenage couples coming in, a 18-year-old boyfriend with a 17-year-old girlfriend, that kind of thing, because we really want to encourage family get-together time. And unfortunately, we have that a little bit.
Thanks
but
for that picture. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
Sorry about
Alicia.
that, Michelle.
If I could just take that one step further then, and I think you know where I'm going.
Mhm.
We've had complaints very recently of children standing outside the fence because they couldn't come in to swim because they couldn't afford it.
Right.
Between 5 and 6:30.
Well, during 5 and 6:30, we really want it to be kind of a downtime. We have less guards on the pool because it is our dinner hour. And so for safety purposes, of course, we don't want to be at capacity during that time frame. Also, during that time frame, it's a nice calmer time for families to come, enjoy the facilities, and be able to swim a little bit more freely and spend a little bit more quality time together. And so it's not that we're not letting kids come in during that time, it's just that we want it to be a little bit calmer because we have less staff on the pool at that time.
Good. Thank you for indulging me.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Alicia, could I ask one more question? How long has this program been ongoing
For the family swim?
for the family swim?
As long as I can remember.
Me too.
It's a nice time for families to come, and I really do encourage those people with the free passes or the regular passes or reduced family passes to come and enjoy themselves.
Thank you.
Councilor Brown. I'm sorry, Councilor Rolfing?
Alicia, is there a charge for the families at that time? Or do we do that for?
For family swim, if you have a season swim pass, you can come in for free.
Okay.
Otherwise, you do have to pay a daily fee to get in for that.
Councilor Brown.
I'm going to move to approve, but I will have an amendment.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve this item. Is there a second?
Second, Aguilar.
Seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Brown.
I'll move to amend Section 2741, Recreation Activity and Facility Fees to be lowered as follows. Daily admission child at family aquatic centers, $2. Daily admission child at swimming pools, $1. If I get a second, I would like to speak to it.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Brown has made a motion to amend this item, and it was seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Councilor Brown.
This just simply keeps the fees at where they're at today for the daily swim passes. I do commend the Parks Department for what they've done in promoting the free and reduced passes. They've done a good job of that. As the numbers that we went through from Councilor Erpenbach, you can see that the city does significantly help out low-income families. This is just an effort to make sure that those that don't have those summer-long passes would still be able to swim at the rate that we have today.
Councilor Rolfing.
I see that somewhat makes some sense, but didn't I hear, Alicia, that most of the people that are using the $1 and $2 are out of town, and that most of the people coming into the pools, vast majority of the people coming into the pools have passes of some sort?
You are correct, and we do encourage those kids that we see coming in and paying a daily admission fee. We encourage them to let their parents know that we do have the passes available, and if they can't afford it, to have their parents come in, and we will try to give them a free pass, or it's $15 for a child season pass for the entire summer. So we do offer those options to those children that do pay every day, but typically we see the influx on the weekend where people are coming in and they're coming from out of town surrounding communities to use our aquatic facilities that maybe their communities do not have.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers it very well. In that situation, I can see why you'd want to look at increasing that $1 and $2 fee.
Correct.
That would make some sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any further questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Jameson.
Sorry if I could. I'm just trying to figure out the total dollar amount that the city generates through these, just the swim pass fees.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much the daily ones, but the season passes.
Mm-hmm.
How much? I'm just trying to understand better. How much money are we really talking about?
I have that in my notes back there. Can I run and get them quick?
Do I see that right? Maybe other councilors know it. There's 1,277 season passes, or at least, for instance, family passes that were sold for $70. It's like 80-some thousand. All I was trying to get to is the concept of if it's $100,000, or maybe Don, you have a number?
I want to make sure I understand your question. Could you repeat it, please?
All the people who buy the season passes, all the families, and all the single people, whoever might buy passes for the city, total, how much money does that generate? I could probably do it maybe on this list, but...
Yeah, it's we don't. I don't have it broken down separately, other than the total revenue that we project to generate based on the proposed increases that we
Okay.
have today. And so the revenue based on this proposed plan for our aquatic fees would be $502,000. But I don't have the breakdown versus daily admission and season passes.
Well, I think the idea was, all I was trying to create some discussion amongst the council was that if there's, and your expenses wouldn't go up if the pools were maximized every day full to their capacities. I mean, you'd still pay the same for the treating of the water and the lifeguards and.
Well, we will use more chlorine. There will be
Okay,
more.
yeah,
You know,
okay.
there will be some more product
Sure.
supplies and materials that we'll use. You know, chlorine stabilizer, those types of things, so that it does go up with additional admission, not significantly though compared to the old. You know, we're not adding lifeguards as a general rule, whether there's 50 people in the pool or 500. So that's pretty constant, which is the most significant cost, obviously. So.
Thank you, I guess.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Just to continue along Councilman Jameson's line of questioning, Don, without these raises, how much are we going to lose?
Right now, our city support would be about $560,000. Currently, it would be a little less than $500,000 if we don't increase any of these fees.
Thank you.
So the increment is $60,000.
That's correct.
Councilor Olfing.
And I think you told me that last meeting that about half of that was the $1 and $2.
Yeah, that's the big piece of the total picture.
And most of that is coming from weekends and people from out of town.
And primarily to use the family aquatic centers like Laurel Oak, Terrace Park, Drake Springs, where you typically don't have, most of the smaller communities are going to have your traditional pools as a general rule. The family aquatic centers obviously are the attraction, and obviously we generate more attendance at those facilities.
Could I have a vote on the amendment that was made by Councilor Brown, seconded by Councilor Entman?
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
No.
Jameson?
No. No.
Karski?
No.
Rolfing?
No.
Aguilar?
No.
And Anderson?
No.
That has failed 2-6. We still have the main motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Entman.
I'd like to propose an amendment. Section 27-41 and Section E under the fees. There's two proposed new fees. Wedding location reservation fee for $50 and terrace or McKinnon band shell reservation fees for $50. I'd like to raise those to $75 each, please.
There has been a motion to amend the main motion. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Seconded by Councilor Brown. Any discussion on this item? Councilor Entman?
I just think we got two great locations here. We've never charged fees for them before. And we do have to provide services for maintenance and cleanup, as we always do. We do have to reserve those, which is setting aside time that other people might be sitting on them or using them or whatever. If you do reserve them, you do have to pay for them. And I just think that it's warranted. The $75 is an excellent fee.
Councilor Erpenbach?
Just a question then. This is just the reservation fee, correct, Don? And if I reserve it for my event, I pay the $75 to reserve it, but then if I have my event there, I pay an hourly fee, is that correct? Or something? I pay something, right?
As you can see, I don't have all the
Boy, I
answers.
guess.
so
You are right
Dave's
there.
going to help me out.
David?
Dave Fisher, Assistant Director, Parks and Recreation. Michelle, if you're talking about Tut Hill, for example, there would be the $50 reservation fee for the formal gardens, and then you would have the option of also getting the Tut Hill house to use in conjunction with the wedding, that being the additional $25 an hour with a minimum 4-hour time block.
Okay.
You don't have to take the house, but what we do is we block it out anyway so that we don't have an activity going on that close to the formal gardens. You can just do the wedding, and that's $50. If you want the house, then there's an additional charge for the house.
Okay, I misspoke. Thank you.
Councilor Karski.
Do we charge a cleanup fee, anything like that? I just put on a golf tournament at a local golf course, and they charged me $200 to clean up after the dinner. I mean, do we charge a cleanup fee?
No, none of these reservation fees are based on what it costs us to clean up. They're really based on what other communities charge as well, which is also centered around just the reservation fee. The cleanup and the preparation and that kind of stuff. We haven't set any kind of we want to recover X amount for all of those things that we do. It's pretty purely a reservation fee.
There is an amendment that has been proposed by Councilor Entenmann. If we could have a vote on that, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. We now have an amended main motion. Is there any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 29.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising license fees issued by the Public Health Director.
Welcome.
Good evening, Amy Richardson, Health Department. Item 29 pertains to changes to the Health Department fees in Chapter 23. To provide you with a few examples of the proposed fee changes, the annual license fee for a restaurant up to 2,500 square feet would go from $151 to $181. A food selling and food processing annual license fee would go from $302 to $362. And a tattoo establishment from $144 to $173. As identified at the first reading, the strike-through relating to the additional food prep areas allows the Health Department to charge this fee for any size facility and not limiting to facilities with greater than 5,000 square feet. Lastly, this proposal has been a multi-year effort to align revenue with expenses, and we are positioned to meet this goal by 2014. Any questions?
Amy, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Very good. Council, any comments?
Move to approve, Brown.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Brown has made a motion to approve item number 29, seconded by Councilor Anderson, Jr. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 30.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending the schedule of rates to be charged by the City Light and Power Department for furnishing electric current for light and power purposes as found in Chapter 41 Utilities.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. This builds off the presentation that we did in full on earlier this month at an informational meeting, and then last month with the first reading. This is a recommended rate increase across all customer classes in the Light and Power Division of 3%, and we are here to answer your questions.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? Council, any questions, comments, motions? Yes, Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mark, I take it you've had some discussions with the public about these rate increases?
We have. Obviously, the normal public process, the calls that I've received and the meetings that I've had have been mostly on the water rate increase and not on the light and power, nor on the next item, which is for landfill.
Move to approve, Brown.
Second, Entenmann.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve item number 30, seconded by Councilor Entenmann. Any further discussion, Council? Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That's passed 8-0. Item 31.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising Chapter 18 thereof to decrease rates at the landfill in Sections 18-30B and 18-30N.
All right, let me speak to this. This is a reduction in fees, and it's specifically to wood waste. Prior to this recommendation, we actually charged the same rate as what we did for construction and demolition debris, which is $30 per ton. And so the recommended rate reductions just recognize for the last 3 years that the landfill, it's actually been a sale commodity to have either grinders move in and grind all of our wood waste and haul it to an energy producer. And so that's recognizing that we don't have that cost is our recommendation to actually reduce this for our customers, and we would ask for your support.
Anyone in the audience like to speak to this item? Very good. Council?
Move to approve, Entenmann.
Second, Anderson.
Thank you. Councilor Entenmann's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. And is there any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 32.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by increasing water rates as found in Chapter 41 Utilities.
Mr. Cutter?
Mayor and City Council, Mark Cotter with the Office of Public Works. Would like to speak to this item as well. Again, this has been the nature of the majority of the questions that we've received, and we've done our best to answer those questions. I think one of the comments that came today from a customer is please show what the history has been. And I think it is important to show that. I think it's also important to recognize that for approximately 20 years prior to the change in the rate structure as we've done, that started in 2006, that went effective in 2007, we essentially had very nominal to no rate increases. And so recognizing that some of our costs to run the operation and maintenance of the water plant will track with inflation, but most will not. Things such as electricity, chemicals, reinvesting into our capital infrastructure, which is largely below ground, out of sight, out of mind. And then lastly, really looking long-term and purchasing a significant portion of Lewis and Clark. And so that's been the nature of most of the discussions is why aren't these rate increases tracking closer with inflation? And then we have had the opportunity to get into the details. I think one of the things that we just seen with Light and Power and landfill is that when we started this review back in 2006, is that many of these operations had not had a rate increase for over 10 years. This one in particular was a little bit longer than that. But I think one of the things that we can see is that now with the health of the Light and Power Fund, and we started the Light and Power Fund with about nearly a 19% increase back in 2007. Now we're down to inflationary numbers. We've met the reserve targets, and that fund is what I would call healthy and ready for the future. Same thing with landfill. Landfill had a series of adjustments that also occurred, but now the second year in a row we have not had to make a rate increase because we've got those rates at a responsible level. We've actually, with some other opportunities, been able tonight to actually reduce wood waste. I would just tell you that we are, you can see the finish line with this rate increase, that very soon we will be closer to inflationary targets, and we've got our whole team here that we can answer your questions.
Folks, I know there's some folks in the audience who'd like to speak to this item. If you would just come forward, we'd appreciate it. I just ask you to speak your name, or give us your name, and then just keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Thank you.
Hi, Teresa Staley, concerned citizen. And I want to talk to you tonight about the F word and the C word. The F word being flexibility and the C word being compromise. These past few weeks, a group of us have been out trying to educate the public about the past and the present double-digit water rate increases. And as you can see, 2007, 12%, 2008, 13.5%. 2009, 14.5%. 2010, 14%. 2011, 14%. 2012, 14%. 2013, 9%, and 2014, 4%. Most of the citizens that we have been visiting with have not seen this chart until we started passing it around. Mark Cotter said in a meeting today that the City Council has seen this chart, and that's good. But we need to make sure that people are aware of what's going on. I wish this had been sent out in the water bill. I do commend the Argus Leader. They did show the chart of the whole picture in the paper. I've asked the TV media to also do that. I don't believe that that's been shown to the people yet. But if the people don't know what's going on, it's really hard for them to contact you and give you their opinion on things. And we're about connecting the public to the process and what's happening. And I'm sure any of you, if you were asked that personally, would agree that they deserve to be involved in what's happening. Now, the city is claiming that these are enterprise funds, that the sewer and the water department are supposed to be run as a business. And businesses have to do two things. They have to serve a good product or deliver a good product and do it at a reasonable price. And they always have to be looking at the bottom line and making sure they're doing it effectively. As we've been having this discussion, there's 3 points I want to bring up. Compromise is the first one, and I've had a conversation with several of you council members about this. This list that we see is the wish list for the water department. And it's their Christmas list. They've gotten everything that they've asked for. We would like to ask for a compromise of 8%. Mayor Huther, when you took office, you asked the departments to cut back. We just had to cut back in state government. The educational department has had to cut back. Everybody's doing it. We're making more with less. The water department needs to do the same thing. 8% compromise. The second issue, funding. Now, I was involved with the sales tax increase a few years ago, and when that first came up, it lost. The council voted down that sales tax increase. The developers wanted it for arterial streets. And then, Vernon, you flipped your vote, and it passed. And that money was supposed to be used for arterial streets. The developers were going to match it. Well, development has slowed down. And I say, let's be creative in funding these infrastructure needs. Sewer and water, everybody wants these things. Why not use some of the sales tax money, which, by the way, you can use money from the general fund to help with these things. Be creative and fund these processes through the sales tax. We're talking about $120 million for an event center that's going to be used, the sales tax money used to help with that. Using it for infrastructure, I think, is a good idea. So being creative with the funding, because the water department, nothing against these guys, and we met with the water superintendent today. He was very cordial. We certainly want them to be able to do their job, but we want to use all of our resources to help them. And taxes and fees all come from the same place, which happens to be what? Our billfold. And the third thing that we're going to ask for is an efficiency audit. The last audit that happened in the water department was in 2008. Greg Jameson gave me that information. Thank you, Greg. And 2008 was right after we started implementing these double-digit increases. So we believe that it is time to reevaluate and look into this department for any waste that may be happening. And in light of what just happened with a company last week, we can see that you can never have too much oversight. Don't take anything for granted, and the public expects that. So I thank the water department and the sewer department for providing us with good drinking water and getting that waste away from our homes. But I do think that we need to consider these things tonight, and I ask you to be flexible and sensitive to the public and agree to an 8% increase. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question for Ms. Staley.
Yes.
Well, is this supposed to be a question and answer?
This is allowed, is it not, Mayor?
I'm getting yes, I guess I am.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm curious. I want to talk about dollars and cents because ultimately, you said it, it comes out of our wallets. Let's talk about dollars and cents. How much is your monthly water bill?
Well, Vernon, that's a good question, because I'm very
I should say
conservative.
water and sewer.
Okay, water and sewer, and let's let people understand that we have water reclamation and the water department bill enveloped in one. And they're two different departments. And we did have a water increase 2 months ago, which I also rallied against, and that was a total of, I believe, 8%. So, but my water bill is, it used to be like around, I'm a very conservative person, use 2 consumptions usually, and it used to be $8, and now it's up to almost $16. So it's almost doubled.
And I was going to share mine. I just looked at mine before I came, and mine, household of 3 individuals, ours is less than $1 a day, less than $31. I checked with organizations in the community that serve people in poverty, and they say it's very, very rare to ever have people come for help on their water and sewer bills, because it is the most affordable bill that they see every single day for less than $1 a day.
Okay, but Vernon, those figures are not tracking with even the figures that Mark Cotter gave out. His average bill was, what was it, 7 consumptions, and I think even the TV stations reported it's going from the average family of $43 up to $49.
Right. I was just sharing what mine is in my house.
But so when this came up, I can respond to him, right? Yes. Okay. When this came up 2 months ago, I spent a lot of time. I came in and talked to you all about this. I got 4 different families' water bills, and I tracked that from 2007 until now, with the same amount of consumptions. And those families were paying anywhere from $250 to $300 more. I had the evidence right there. So that's a big number. And I don't think people have been aware of what's going on. I think it's just been kind of a slow, I use the story of the frog in the water and then slowly boiling the heck out of him. Do not boil us.
Teresa, thank you very much.
Boil
Folks,
the water.
is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the council about this particular topic? Welcome. Thank you.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'd like to thank Mark Cotter and Trent Lubers and Greg Anderson for meeting with us today. I learned some things in the meeting. Some things were confirmed to me that I kind of knew about but wasn't for sure. There was one thing that came from the meeting that I found to be kind of strange. Greg Anderson was explaining to us that in the past, the deal was to sell as much water as possible, to take in as much water revenue as possible, and so that there wouldn't be rate increases. And they were overloading the system, and it wasn't good for the system. So we took on these new conservation measures, which I agree with, you shouldn't be watering your lawn every day and everything else like that. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, so we are using less water with more users, we are conserving more, but then we have to increase our rates, and now we're rewarding the public with conservation by charging us more? Kind of sounded like to me that we're paying for the sins of the past, that us users today have to pay more because in the past they overloaded the system. That's not right. It's not fair, and I just don't think that's right. Secondly, the other argument being used is that Lewis and Clark cost us $84 million. Of course, this isn't with interest after we pay off the bonds. So I asked the question, when will we be using Lewis and Clark to full capacity? The answer was we don't know yet, because we're going to gradually step it up, because we were told that Lewis and Clark is very expensive and we don't want to use it unless we have to as an emergency. So as I get this straight, we spent $84 million on a system that we're not using yet. We haven't got a drop of water yet from it. And when we do get it, we're only going to use it when we absolutely need to. And on top of that, we're going to increase everyone's water rates now to pay for that system that we're not using or will be using very much. Didn't make a lot of sense to me either. But lastly, I want to talk about, I looked at the 2008 water audit, and As I see it, the second penny is used for infrastructure. And that's a lot of things. That's streets, but it also includes water pipes. Another reason why we're told we need these water increases is because we need to shift that cost from the second penny over into the water rates to pay for these pipes. Which I found kind of funny because we also have the parks increasing rates. We also have the health department increasing rates. And I'm like, why do we want to take all the money out of the second penny and start paying for this stuff out of our rates when we've always traditionally paid for it out of the second penny? The second penny is set up for infrastructure and capital improvement projects. Its original intent was not to build entertainment centers. An entertainment center that I must remind everybody has not been approved by the voters yet. I look at this as we are shifting these costs over to the rates so that we can free up second penny money for an event center that might or might not be built. This is my opinion. That's it. It's not based on any scientific model. But you promised, Mike, that we are going to build a new event center with no new taxes. If we're shifting money and increasing water rates, that's an increase in taxes to free up money for the second penny. Teresa had some demands. My demand is that this action should be deferred tonight until a full internal audit is done of the water department. That's all I have.
Thank you, Scott. Folks, is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the council? Great. Folks, if there is anyone else who'd like to speak, if you could just be ready, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Robin Jansen, Sioux Falls.
Welcome.
I just have a question for the council. How many have served down at the banquet? I'd like to see a raise of hands. And you want to raise rates on the water. People are down there that are out on the streets. They are one paycheck away from welfare. I don't understand it. I don't know where you guys come from. You know, I live with my mother to help her support her. Our water bill is going ridiculous. Everything is going ridiculous. My insurance rates just went up almost $150 a month. And you want me to pay another 14% on top of paying off for interest? I'm a diabetic. Medication keeps on going up. I mean, it's time to stop and take a look at the way the city spends money. I agree with all these other people. There needs to be an eternal audit. Not an eternal, but an outside audit. Because the company I work for, we just went through an audit. So I'm asking you, before you think about saying yes to this increase, stop and look what you're doing to the people of Sioux Falls and to the poor. And just take a look at the people that is served down the banquet. We do that once a year. We served over 500 people, and almost 200 people of them were children. So it's time to stop and think about how we are spending our money and help the public. Thank you.
Robin, thank you.
Kathy Kersey. I'd just like to add on a little bit statistically to what the previous gentleman had to say. Approximately 1 out of 7 people are now eligible for food stamps. Over 1/3 of the children in our public schools in Sioux Falls are eligible for free or reduced meals. When that gentleman was talking about the banquet, there's probably not a lot of homeowners among the people at the banquet, but there are a lot of people receiving food stamps, getting reduced and free meals for their children. There are a lot of older people, like me, who are on fixed incomes in this community, and that population is growing, as you know. Some of you are moving toward it more quickly than others. There are many homeowners in this low-income area who have been struggling. And I personally have been, since January, just very anxious about how my water bill has been going up. And I've compared it to a lot of other people who are like me in two-person households. And I just don't understand this. So I actually have someone from the water department coming to take a look and see if I have some leaks or something tomorrow. Because mine was $40. I don't know what tier I'm in, but and I do everything I can to conserve my water. So, and I'm, I'm not uncomfortable yet. I can still cover my expenses. But I know there are many families with children and older people who haven't, built up the Social Security that my husband did. And consequently, as everything goes up, you know that electricity is going to go up this year. You know, we're on the budget plan. I am on the budget plan. You know that gas is going to go up this year. It's very, very difficult to be doing these double-digit increases every year. And it gets harder and harder. Keep in mind how many people are underemployed in this community as well as unemployed. Despite whatever statistics we get, we know there are more unemployed who are discouraged and aren't even being counted anymore as they dropped out of the, whatever that organization is, one-stop job search or whatever it is. So this is a community that, like most other communities in the United States today, is hurting. We've got some real problems, and there is no guarantee that our economy is coming up out of it. If you read some of the things in our Argus Leader this morning about what's coming as China starts calling in the bills. So I would ask you at least to consider what Teresa has said about compromise, about let's not raise it quite so much, and let's have an internal audit, and let's ask questions that Scott asked about Lewis and Clark. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
My name is Bob Sievertson, Mr. Mayor and Councilors. Over 50 years ago, my wife and I bought a starter home. I'm still living in it. It's a well-shaded home, and I don't water my lawn. I've got to deal with a bank. They deduct my utilities monthly, and I examine those utilities, and I see that I'm paying 4 times as much for my cable TV as I am for my water and sewer. The best deal I get in utilities is in my water and my sewer in Sioux Falls. Now, I don't have any problem. I think it's a good thing to scrutinize this increase. But I wish there was a way to scrutinize, say the cable company or the internet. I yield to nobody and a long-time concern for the plight of the working poor. But I just repeat, that the best bargain I get is what the bill that I pay for my water and my sewer. When I look at the expense, this isn't. This might be a little simplistic station, but when I get my water and sewer, it seems to me there's an expense connected with that. There's pipes and pumps and the treatment centers, and they treat the water coming and going. That's kind of a. Can I give it?
It's fine.
But when say, I don't understand how the expense of $50 a month to hook a cable. I just thank you for your attention.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your comments.
Carol Flower again.
Thanks.
I was happy to be at the meeting that was held this afternoon with Mark Cotter and the other gentleman, and I was happy to go there because I learned some things that I didn't know before, even though my father worked for the water department for most of his life. But I came away from that meeting thinking that one of the things that had been mentioned was this issue of water conservation. And in Sioux Falls, we have a huge disparity between people and their incomes. We have this water fee that is the same for a family that maybe makes $25,000 a year and has who knows how many kids. The same amount is the same amount over here for someone who makes $250,000 a year. The amount and the increases are the same for this family that maybe makes $25,000, and the same for this family over here. As one of the participants in the meeting said, these people pay $1,000 a month for their water. And I'm thinking, if we're talking about water conservation, maybe what we should also be thinking about is some way to take the residential water system, several of the other people talked about creative solutions, and I'm not saying that this is the great one, but I think we need to take more time to think about this and maybe defer the action on this issue. One of the things we could do is to take the residential water system and break it into several tiers and several layers where the people that use the most water pay more for that most water, not at the same rate as the people who use less water. Maybe we should be rewarding people that use less water and that conserve more water, and putting the burden on the water consumption and the money coming in from that on people that use it a lot. I know that when I was at the meeting, I mentioned some of the larger homes where there's a bathroom for every bedroom. Last year, in the Argus, there was an article, and it featured a home where not only did every bedroom have a bathroom, but it also had a little laundry unit so that whoever was in that bedroom could wash their laundry whenever they wanted to do. I mean, this is if we're thinking conservation, this seems unusual to me. So I think we have people that are struggling to make ends meet, and for every little increase that occurs, it places more of a burden on them. And the thing is that water is something we need to live. We need water to drink. We need water. And I would like you to seriously think about perhaps postponing this entire issue, looking into it more. Some of the people mentioned an audit, but I think we've got to think about some creative ways to solve this problem, still bring in the money that the water department needs, but find a different way to do it that's more equitable for everybody in this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Braun.
Carol, and actually not a question for you, but Mark, if you could explain for the people to understand that we do structure the water system so the less you use, the less you pay, and that it is encouraging conservation.
Certainly, that was an action that was probably put in place within the last 10 years when a series of conservation measures were enacted. And essentially, the city of Sioux Falls has a 4-tiered approach. Right now, if you use less than 7 consumption units, you pay the lowest volumetrically. And then if it goes from 8 consumptions up to 50, and then 50 to 150 and then beyond. So there's a graduated scale that the more you use, the more you pay. And we start to see some people that will call us basically after the first month of their lawn watering, and we remind them that there is a tiered approach, and we want people to conserve water, because the more we conserve, the less reservoirs we have to construct, the less pumps that we have to rewind, and the less diameter water mains that we have to actually expand to get the water out, because the higher the demand, the higher and the larger the system that has to be. So, and if there's any of those other points or comments that were raised, if you'd like me to address them, I certainly will do that.
Thanks, Mark. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? You're welcome. Welcome.
City Council. Valerie Ray. Oh, I can feel a shaking coming on. I see a clear plan to bring in $3 million a year with this 14% increase, which equals $15 million from the time you started in 2007, over $15 million till 2011. But I don't see the plan for what the cost of operation is. I don't see, it's like I was looking in the paper and looking, just the answers, cost of operation. I don't see those figures. Cost of infrastructure maintenance, I don't see that. And then there was a bit in the paper here about capital investment. I don't understand that. Let's see, we were talking about water bill. My water bill, when I thought about it, was $5 a month. And now, without the next intended increase in 2012, my bill right now is $35.40. That's quite an increase. That's more than how much? Anyway, now what I'm thinking is, I don't think any more rate increases can be justified until you can demonstrate with dollars and cents what you're doing with the money. So then, my questions are, cost of operation in dollars and cents, cost of infrastructure maintenance in dollars and cents, actual cost of purification plant in Lewis and Clark, and cost to bring water to our area in dollars and cents. What is capital investment? Is that where I get to take my money and put it into bonds and get the interest off of it, but you're going to take it through my water bill? That's all I'm going to try to say today.
Valerie, great job, and thanks for staying tonight. Thank you. Oh, yes. All right, Tim, I was so close. Come on up. Come on up, sir. Welcome.
How are we doing?
Good, good. Thank you.
Tim Stanga. The kids in my neighborhood, they pray for it to rain so they don't have to run through the sprinkler. Again, elderly people, they got a wage freeze. I'm hoping that all the people that have got up and speak today aren't just speaking to the public. I'm hoping the city council and the mayor's office and public's work is listening. People are struggling in this town. I guess the thing what I'm trying to look at is the bottom line. Have we shown why we need a 14% increase? And I guess when it comes to, how do you want to say it, being able to look at contracts between the city workers, are we going to look at the pension plans for 401ks? Are we going to look at increasing what they pay for medical care? Because everybody in this town is on 401ks or an IRA program, and they have to pay a big percentage of what they pay for medical. I'm hoping that the city looks at that, because I think that's your big increase. Because a lot of these states right now, it's hitting them on the budget, is when these pension plans are going out sky high and the rates for insurance is going sky high. I'm hoping that the citizens of Sioux Falls are watching this tonight, realizing that there are people up here that are standing up for them to say, wait a minute, let's prove that we need a 14% increase to begin with. When it hits the Park and Recreation, you don't have to come in to prove that you have to raise things. Prove that you need an increase. Then let's talk about it.
Mr. Tinka, thank you. To the people in the audience, okay, Mr. Stagers, come on through. Mr. Stagers, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much.
You bet.
Well, it's becoming an annual ritual for the City Council to go ahead and raise the water rates. We can take a look here at this chart. And, of course, I remember many nights when we were doing this. And tonight, of course, you're being asked to increase the water rates by a double-digit 14% increase. I remember in the past when we talked about raising water rates, usually a justification was given for why this should be done. Not just saying, well, we haven't done it for, a long time, or we have low water rates. There's usually a justification. In the past, it was mostly, of course, we needed Lewis and Clark to be financed and paid for. But after a while, Lewis and Clark argument has kind of gone by the wayside. And one of the latest arguments I've heard why we should have this increase this evening is because the stabilization fund. That's going to provide for really a savings fund so that in the future, if the city has to raise the water rates, well, they don't have to raise them as dramatically because they can take some money out of this savings fund, and then the rate increase will not be as great, and it'll make the citizens a lot happier that way. So that's one of the justifications that's being used here for this 14% rate increase. You can say it's a good justification, or you can say it's not so good a justification. The Argus Leader has done some stories on this, and there's one story that I read, and that was basically this water department has a plan, and they just want to continue with this plan without making any adjustments at all. I think that's particularly unwise, given the economic conditions in our country right now. Some people are talking about the possibility of a double-dip recession taking place and making it even hard on the citizens of our country. And, of course, here in Sioux Falls, we have many citizens who are already hurting. So I guess I would urge the City Council here to, maybe try to add some flexibility here. Do we really need a 14% increase when we do have citizens hurting, lower income citizens? So thank you very much for your time this evening.
Mr. Stagers, thank you. City Council, is there anyone who would like to speak to this item or make a motion? Yes, Councilor Urbanbach.
I have questions for Mr. Cotter, if I could, please.
Mark.
I have several just kind of random things. First of all, Mr. Cotter, could you remind us when our last external audit was for the city with Ide Bailey?
That happens annually.
Every year we audit the city.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2008, we did an internal audit specifically on the water fund. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Then the other question I have then is regarding Lewis and Clark. Have we started making payments on that yet?
The way we initially set up that bond was it's a 30-year bond, and since we were not expected to receive water until 2012, we set up the first 6 years as interest only. Next year will actually be the first time we actually have to do principal and interest. And so that raises that obligation, and it also, to make sure that Lewis and Clark has customers and that they can deliver water, we all signed contractual minimums that we would purchase to make sure that they can deliver clean and fresh water. So on top of, next year will be our first principal and interest payment, not just interest. We'll also have our cost of buying our contractual minimum, which is about just under 3 million gallons per day.
Then if I could, in April of 2012, we're not the only ones that are going online with Lewis and Clark. Lincoln County and some others are as well. What happens to our water then when they're buying from Lewis and Clark? Does that make sense? They're buying from us now, is that correct?
That's right. Right now, we're actually filling the Lewis and Clark pipe that ultimately goes to T in Harrisburg. And we did that because of their water shortage needs. But we'll essentially just turn the meter, and then we'll buy, once they start harvesting water out of the Missouri River, running it through their new treatment plant, and then that long pipeline that goes from the Vermilion plant to Sioux Falls, we'll actually start buying water from Lewis and Clark at that point.
So not only will we be buying water, we also will not be selling water anymore. So our revenues go down in 2012. Is that right?
Yeah,
By some.
a fraction. That's right.
Okay. That's the questions I have.
Thank you,
Okay.
Councilor.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Mark, there's a chart in your PowerPoint presentation that you had done about the future capital improvement expenditures. But in the past, we've made some significant capital improvements into this program. My question is maybe a little off, catch you off guard a little bit, is the idea that, do you think we've overbuilt our serviceability? I mean, we've got Lewis and Clark who's coming online, which is a huge resource for us, but also we've got our current water treatment facility that is enormous. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, do we have a walk-in freezer when all we really need is a little side-by-side freezer?
No, and I would also just remind us that we're very fortunate to have a very good but growing community, and we don't want to look at a decision tonight like just for 2012, even though these rate increases won't go into effect until January 1 of 2012. It is, when you take a stepped approach, it is the accumulation of what you need for that minimum rate increase to actually have a solid fund. But I will tell you that Lewis and Clark will actually save us dollars because in a water delivery perspective, their water will come in at a higher pressure. So we'll be able to flow into our system, which will ultimately, as our city grows, reduce our need to have to push water out from our plant. So it is today, I mean, we are making a short-term decision, but also a very long-term decision because you have the accumulation effect. And our cost of service rate approach allows us to only recommend the minimum rate increase that we need to not only meet our operation and maintenance, but our capital and our debt service. And I do have a slide that if you'd like to see, just to address where has the money gone, I think we can certainly show that real quick, Mayor, City Council.
You can do it.
Let me at least speak to this graph while we'll try to put it into perspective. That gives you a snapshot back to 2004, starting on the left with wages and benefits. They have increased on, and the one thing that we've talked about, basically on that inflationary rate approach, the repair and maintenance, you can see that over time, that has certainly outpaced wages and benefits. The capital has been necessary to invest into this system, and capital investment essentially means if it's in the well field, we're taking out an old well and we're putting in a new well. If it's at the treatment plant, if it's an old piece of equipment that's wore out, we're putting in a new piece of equipment. If it's out in the distribution system, if it's a pump and a motor, or if it's a water main or a fire hydrant, those are all capital investments. Those are all capital assets of the city. And so when we talk about capital, that's what that is. The big spikes over a 3-year period, that is not only our baseline capital investment that we made into the system, but it's also Lewis and Clark, because we had to send the bond proceeds to them. And then the debt service, that's what's key, is that when we started out, and as early as 1993 was really the first formal action to buy into Lewis and Clark, and then in the decade of the 2000s is really when the construction started, and now the formal debt service payments are required because we sold the bond in early 2000s. You'll start to see that our obligation is there from a debt perspective, that we have to make sure that we've told the rating agencies that we'll make these payments. We've made a 50-year decision to buy Lewis and Clark, and I would tell you from my perspective, the city is growing. We have a limited local supply up north in the Big Sioux Aquifer and Middle Skunk Creek. We are experiencing a wet climate period right now in the last few years and starting out in this summer, but those dry years will return. And to not only have maximized our current well field, it's critical that we have Lewis and Clark. And we've gone down that road, and we have to be able to make those debt service payments. And so from that standpoint, it is a short-term decision tonight, but it's also a long-term.
Thanks, Mark. Council, would anybody like to make a motion?
Mayor, I have,
Yes,
I have some
Jr.
questions for Mark Cotter.
Mr. Anderson, Jr.
Okay. Mark, for a long time, we've touted that Lewis and Clark, that we went out and prepaid this, but we didn't talk about what we were actually repaying. You know, tonight you say we're only repaying only just the interest until now. Why wasn't that discussed in previous years? Because I don't remember it, and that's why I'm asking. Because this is sort of hitting me just a little bit new, I guess, because I thought we were actually paying on the debt service for Lewis and Clark.
Let me address that. And we have been. One of the decisions, because at the time the Lewis and Clark debt service was the largest bond that the city had ever executed, and so the justification is should we wait and pay principal, because we had two things. We thought it was prudent to actually wait till we receive water to actually make that principal and interest payment. We did sell a 30-year bond, and so it does spread it out over essentially a generation of customers. And it also, when we made the obligation to Lewis and Clark, it would have been even a more drastic increase in those early years if we had to immediately start making principal and interest costs. So we did a couple of different strategies with this stair-step approach, as opposed to doing one or two major increases. Not only was our rates stepped up, we also did some strategies with our debt service, and that was a key discussion several years ago when that bond ordinance was in front of you.
Okay, and then how was the bond secured?
It is back with second penny sales tax, but all the obligations have come out of this fund.
Okay, and as you and I have discussed last week, can you explain why we can't use sales tax revenue in these enterprise funds?
Well, I think the key is that it's a policy decision of the city council. Secondly, I just think it's prudent as you're managing a fund, and we're very close to having these rates at a responsible level to take us through into the future. But I would tell you that commingling funds, whether it's from an arterial street program or another program or a general tax program, I think that's a large divergence from where we've been, and it would not be my recommendation.
Okay. And one more, if I may. Okay. Just looking at the rate increases that you have up here for 2012, 13, and 14, totaling those up comes to about 27%, correct?
Yep.
What if we did all 3 years at 9%? How is that going to affect? We're still doing the 27%, but we're doing it at a little bit more balanced level here.
Well, I've got one scenario that we can run, which actually shows an 8% instead of the 14%, because that was asked by a customer today, and so we can show that. Okay, this is obviously the slide that we put a lot of information on, but it really speaks to the strength of the fund, and I just think it's important to recap it. This is our recommendation as it stays today, and then the next graph that you'll see would be if we were to not make the 14% rate adjustment for starting in January 1 of 2012, what that impact would actually be. So again, the green is your operational reserve, which is only a 90-day reserve in a fund this size to make sure we can not only meet the obligations, but it's float. The blue, which we've taken a longer period to step up to, which is in 2015, which is recognizing that if we are moving into a scenario where we have to buy a larger quantity of Lewis and Clark water, we want to make sure that, and again, we won't start to see these reserve accounts get to those levels till 2015, but it would actually provide us the extra dollars so we could purchase Lewis and Clark water at a greater rate, because we just, by region, we can harvest the water out of the Big Sioux River and transport it to the plant and treat it cheaper than what we can purchase it for at Lewis and Clark, which is understandable. It's our system was built years ago, but it's also closer in proximity. And then the red is, that is our capital fund, and we've got a true-up that's coming in 2019, paid out in 2020, that we can't use SRF funds to actually make that capital true-up with Lewis and Clark. And so that's the other series of the final piece with Lewis and Clark. So again, that's where the future looks like, with a 14% rate increase for 2012, a 9% for 2013, and then we transition into inflationary rates. Now, if we were to only do, and this is, again, it's a little difficult to read, but I think the key thing that I want you to see is that in 2012, if we took that 14% down to 8% just for that year, that's the story of the cumulative effect of having a stair-stepped approach in rates. We drastically drop, already in 2012, our reserve target. So we'll have less than 90 days of cash in the fund. And then in 2013, again, it's low. And then by 2018, the fund essentially goes negative. And so all I would say is I know that we would not recommend that. And in future years, I know that you wouldn't let a fund actually go negative, but what it does, it passes that decision to somebody else. And I think that's one of the things we recognize that happened in the 1990s and even earlier in the 1980s, that's not something that we want to do. We want to recommend a stair-stepped approach. It's a much more healthy fund, and the water customers of the city of Sioux Falls can have confidence that not only have we made our own system as efficient as possible, but we've also reached out and bought a long-term 50-year water supply.
Okay. Can you go back to the other rate showing the 8% raise?
Yeah.
See, I guess the only thing that gets me on this one here, Mark, is you show the 8%, then you kept the next 2 years' raises at the same rate. So I guess I would like, I'm still looking at 9% across the board. You're not going to have the negatives. You're just probably going to have smaller reserves.
Right. And one of the things you will leave, and we can run that for you because these are simple strategies to run. The one thing that I would say is that you'll still lose those 2 years of cumulative effect. And so that's the power of making the decision tonight on the 14%, and I understand rates are difficult to raise, but we have over the last decade made obligations to make sure that we can have a good solvent fund and meet our debt service requirements, and that's what tonight's about.
Council, would anybody be willing to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve, has been seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Is there any discussion?
I have a
Councilor Anderson Jr.
I have a substitute motion. Is
Okay.
that right now to make that, or?
No, that's fine. Go right ahead, Councilor.
Okay. I have a substitute motion. I'd like to make the increase 9% for 2012, 2013, and 14. I hope I can get a second.
That has died for lack of a second. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Councilor Erpenbach?
A couple of things. When we talk about budgeting for needs for the future, if we look at that, Steve, can you switch that back to the one where it goes negative in 2018? If you look at 2018 and you see that you have no reserves at all, and you're actually in the hole for reserves, and we were to have something happen, we're going to have to go into debt even further to pay for it. It would be like if, I pay my mortgage and my water heater goes out, but I didn't have any reserves, so I've got to put it on a credit card and pay over years to fix my water heater. It's not good management. It's not good government to not have a reserve like this. I know this is hard, and this is not a vote that I'm going to take lightly, but you have to understand that we are paying for the mistakes that were made by leaders in the 1990s, that we are paying a generational subsidy on things that were not paid for when they should have been. And we have to bite the bullet at some point. And I know that citizens are not going to like this, and I apologize, but it's something that you elected us to do. And if you were here, you would see that we're looking at, I can't leave that to those people in 2018. I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to be on the council in 2018. What the heck? Let's just vote to not increase it at all. Let's let them deal with it. That's what happened to us, and that's where we sit right now, and I would encourage you to vote yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Brown.
So often all of us hear about how we need to manage government like a business. And then when we do, we are criticized for it. There were no surprises in this. That chart, Steve, if you can pull that up, that we bantered about earlier on, we've talked a long time about how we, because of the lack of decision-making in past councils, we were going to have to do this. We've talked about this for as long as I've been on the council, that every year we're going to have to make these painful decisions. No, none of us like it. But we knew it was coming, and we're doing it on the promise that we can get to that inflationary rate after 2013. One thing that was missing in all of this is the quality of our water. We have amongst the best water in the entire nation right here in Sioux Falls. And in my household, as the example I used, for less than $1 a day. You don't get a better bargain than that. I encourage your support.
Councilor Jameson.
Just a couple items. The audit, as the chair of the audit committee, we have talked about when would be an appropriate time to go back and do another audit on the water department. And talking with Rich Oaksall, we have determined that it's a good idea to go back probably next year and do a spot check, just like we would in any other department. But there are still other departments in our city that have never been audited. So we've got to make sure we get those covered. But we do intend to go back. Another item is that the fiscal committee is reviewing a proposal to work with the Public Works Department on kind of like a property tax freeze for the elderly, like the county offers, providing something like that for us to use for water customers who are elderly and cannot afford the basic services. So it's something we're going to work with the water department and see what the impact would be to them, just financially, whether it's even a problem or if it's an undue consequence. Just to know that those are coming up, I guess. That's all I wanted to share.
Councilor Jameson, thank you. Any further comments? Councilor Anderson, Jr.
I know that this is a tough decision for everyone in the council. I guess I look at this also as if we are going to run this like a business, I believe that these enterprise funds should take care of the general operation and maintenance of the fund and of what the fund is overseeing. but we've had some items that have come up. We've used sales tax on some of these enterprise funds as we've seen necessary, and then we remove them. I still believe that on some of the capital expenditures of these funds, where these funds cannot pay for those expenditures, where we have to bond long-term, I still believe that we need to retake a look at using some sales tax revenue. This is something that was passed by the council, and I think we need to retake a look at that. Thank you.
Mr. Stenga, if you wouldn't mind, thank you so much. Councilor Anderson Jr., thank you. Any further questions, comments? Councilor Aguilar?
Mr. Mayor, I would ask that you speak to this item as to what your thoughts are.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that opportunity. And Councilor Aguilar, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I wanted to let the people of Sioux Falls know, as well as the people in the audience, that I didn't want to leave the council hanging here tonight. This is something that is not easy for any leader to do, including these 8 leaders that you've elected. This is certainly a challenging time for many. It is. We get emails, we get phone calls, we have face-to-face visits. We do realize that there are people in our town that are certainly challenged, especially in these economic times. But I think you also need to realize that there's not a city councilor, there's not a department head, there's not anyone who loves doing increases. We don't. But we were hired to be prudent. We were hired to be responsible. We were elected to be prudent. We were elected to be responsible. And sometimes when you are a leader, you have to make some tough decisions like the city council has made tonight. We are in a catch-up mode in so many different ways. I actually wish that Scott wouldn't have left, Scott Ershman, because he made a comment tonight that I just couldn't have hit it on the head any better. And he said, we are paying for the sins of the past. We are Sioux Falls. We are paying for the sins of the past. As has been reiterated tonight, we had a period of time in the city where we weren't having the increases that we needed. And now this group of citizens, over the last couple of years, they have had to pay for the sins or for the decisions that were made by city councils and by leaders or lack of leadership in the past. So, Mr. Ershman, please understand that I think you were spot on. It is irresponsible, though, for us not to meet the needs of our people and the costs that go along with meeting those needs. Sioux Falls, here's what you're getting. Bar none. You're getting valuable service. You're getting a very, very high quality, reliable, and safe product. You're getting it at a very, very reasonable cost when you compare it against any other across this state and across this country. And, Ms. Flowers, just to let you know, it is a system where the more that you use, the more that you pay. That actually doesn't happen in all the communities across the state and across the country. In Sioux Falls, it does. For those reasons, I wanted to let this team, of which I am proud to be a part of, know that I fully support this rate increase because it is truly the prudent and responsible thing to do. Thank you for the opportunity. Is there any further discussion, City Council? If I could have a vote, please, on this.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
That is passed 7-0. Just so the public understands, the reason we don't have additional questions is that once there has been a motion made amongst the council, that means the opportunity for that citizen comment has ended. So it's not meant to not heed your question. It's just that is the rules of engagement that this council has undertaken. But I do thank you. Item number 34. Item number 34.
Item number 33,
Or item 33. Thank you so much, Denise.
deferred from the meeting of June 13, 2011, a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by repealing the 3-year expiration for residential rental unit registrations.
Council members and public, the city staff has been working with a land use committee of the council to consider a modification to our rental registration ordinance. When that ordinance was enacted by the previous council, all rental units are required to be registered with the city. And the original ordinance said that every 3 years, those units have to be re-registered. And we felt that that's kind of a cumbersome administrative process, not only for the city, but also for a number of property owners. So working with the South Dakota Multi-Housing Association, as well as the Land Use Committee, we are now recommending an amendment to the ordinance that would eliminate the 3-year renewal requirement. But all rental units would still be required to be registered with the city.
Thank you. Council, are there any comments, or would anybody like to set a hearing date and second reading for Tuesday, July 5th at 7 p.m. on item 33?
So move Anderson.
Second, Jamison.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Jamison. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 34.
Deferred from the meeting of June 13, 2011, a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by charging a replacement fee for reloadable fare cards for transit.
This would enact a $5 replacement fee for our reloadable fare cards, which are the plastic cards that transit riders can use. And through the end of May of this year, we have sold 665 of the reloadable fare cards, 665, and we've had to replace 6 of these so far. So it's not a big deal, but we just are asking the council to allow us to charge a $5 fee for replacement.
Council, would anybody like to set a hearing date and second reading for Tuesday, July 5th at 7 p.m. on this item?
So move Anderson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 35.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 3801 West 41st Street from the C4 Planned Commercial District to the C2 General Commercial District, petition number 2011-0507, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a petition by the Empire Mall pertaining to the existing advertising sign that's along 41st Street, which is an electronic message sign. The existing zoning where this sign is located, based on our current zoning ordinance, is limited to what we call on-premise advertising, which means that advertising can be allowed for any business that's located on the property or within a building on that property. The Empire Mall has recently, or has been working for some time with a third-party vendor whereby you can advertise, buy advertising space inside the mall common area, either on a kiosk or a booth, and then that would also allow you to advertise on the electronic message sign. Within our zoning ordinance, we have a distinction between on-premise and off-premise advertising as far as the zoning. This zoning ordinance, as I said, we're currently working on. As you are aware, we have been involved for some time on a process to update our zoning ordinance. And one of the things that we're going to be addressing is signage. But in the meantime, we felt that one way to address this combination of on and off-premise advertising would be to change the zoning to a C2 commercial, which does allow either on or off-premise advertising. So it's a little bit complicated to explain, but we felt that this was a way to address the current situation as we go through this process of updating our zoning ordinance. But the sign will not change. There'll be no additional signage with this rezoning request.
Council, would anybody like to set a hearing date and second reading for Tuesday, July 5th at 7 p.m. on item 35?
So moved, Aguilar.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Aguilar has made that motion, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 36.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of James Sedaris, effective July 21st, 2011.
Mayor and City Council, Bill O'Toole from Human Resources. It's my privilege to address this resolution. As you know, Fire Chief Don Hill retired on June 3rd, and on June 6th, the mayor announced his replacement, and that was Jim Sedaris. This is a resolution giving advice and consent. It does require advice and consent of the council. And just real quickly, if I could, Jim Sedaris has over 28 years of experience with Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. He's got a bachelor's degree and master's degree in nursing from South Dakota State University, and he's also completed the Executive Fire Officer program at the National Fire Academy and is recognized as a Chief Fire Officer and Chief Medical Officer, and he also serves as a commander in the South Dakota Army National Guard. And Mr. Sedaris is here to answer any questions that you may have for him. Thank you.
Jim, would you mind coming to the podium? Just introduce yourself to the people of Sioux Falls, please.
My name is Jim Sedaris. I'm a lifelong resident of Sioux Falls, and I've been on the fire department. I just love the fire department, and I'm hoping to move us to the next level and become an even better department. I was made a chief officer under Don Hill, and I've worked under him as a chief officer for the last, since 1998.
Very good. Council, does anybody have any questions of Mr. Sedaris? Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
No, ladies
or
first.
Councilor Erpenbach.
Thank you. So, Chief Sedaris, or potential Chief Sedaris, as the mayor's been saying, who will do Fire Call on Channel 16 now? It is one of my favorite shows.
I have good news and bad news. The good news is thank you very much. I'm glad you like Fire Call. The bad news is it's been changed.
Oh. But it's still a great public service in the way that it's changed.
Councilor Rolfing.
I just want to know how you feel about Vikings.
How do you feel about the Vikings?
No, not the Vikings, about Augustana Vikings.
You don't have to answer that.
I did go to Augustana. Go Vikes.
Okay, there you go.
Council, who would like to make a motion, if anybody, to make Mr. Jim Sedaris, Chief James Sedaris, effective July 21, 2011?
So move, Anderson.
And this Viking seconds it.
Councilor Anderson, well, okay, very good. Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to appoint Mr. Jim Sedaris to Chief James Sedaris, effective July 21. That was seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Any further questions or comments? Yes, Councilor Anderson Jr.
I have known Mr. Sedaris for quite a long time. I am very, very proud to see this moment.
Thank you.
City Council Kyle, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
That is passed unanimously, 8-0. To the people of Sioux Falls, I would like to introduce you to your new fire chief. His name is Chief James Sedaris.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I thought everybody was here for me earlier.
Council, very, very productive meeting. I thank you for your stewardship. I thank you for your time and your talents. Would anybody like to have this meeting adjourned tonight?
So moved.
Second. Councilor Brown's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Entman. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Brown?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
That is passed 8-0. Thank you so much, City of Sioux Falls. This meeting is adjourned.